Elizabeth Smith with Oliver Smith Jeweler. I'm sitting today with Mr. George Reed. And today I'm actually going to learn a little bit as George walks us through his top watch picks for starting your own watch collection. But first, let's check out what's on our wrists. George, take us away.
Okay, so in keeping with the starter watch theme, today I have worn my Tudor Black Bay Red. This is the first edition of this watch. When Tudor first made their reintroduction to the U.S., this was the watch that was on the billboards, this was in the ads, and I really fell in love with it. In the true keeping with Tudor, it was a much less expensive alternative, carrying Edda's 2892 A2 movement. A little tell on this with the first generation and the second generation, you have what's called the smiling dial. Great luminescence. I love the red. You have the rose crown. This one happens to be on strap, but there was a bracelet model as well. But this one stays in the permanent collection. I worked hard for this one, and I like it a lot.
And I like the red on that. We know I like a red color.
It's a good little pop, matches the tie. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I today am wearing my Cartier Tank Francais. This is done in 18 karat yellow gold. I love the history of this watch. It's a classic watch. Yep. This is a chronograph, but it also has a quartz movement. Yep. And I have recently found a new appreciation for quartz movements.
Well, how else are you going to keep your other watches on time? Yeah, you need a quartz movement in the collection. Everybody's got to have at least one. And if you're going to do one, it should be a Cartier. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and it's so convenient to pick it up and have it set. I did find myself actually trying to wind it the other day because I forgot. So it's almost too easy. But all right, so George has pulled a couple of his favorite watches that he recommends for starting off in a collection. From what I'm seeing on the table here, we're representing, the whole globe.
We're kind of all over the world with this. Yeah, for sure. One of the things I love doing in my job is helping somebody become a watch collector. Kind of lighting that fire for this thing that I absolutely love. And another part of my job is to help you mitigate the damages. So a lot of times people ask me where to start. What is a good starter watch, if you will, and what constitutes a real watch versus a poser watch or whatever. So I'm going to start with Longines. This is the Longines Classic Chronograph. It has this white enamel dial, stainless steel chronograph. Generally speaking, they used Edda-based movements, and we'll get into that in a future video. But Longines has always been one of the best bang for the buck brands out there. I've watched their watches for years, and I've often been, you don't even ask yourself, why is this so cheap? You start looking at other watches and going, why is that so expensive? So this one's fantastic. You have a column wheel chronograph. It's just stunning, easy to use. And I mean, pre-owned market, this guy here, it's $2,300. So a lot of what we're going to be looking at here is ways for you to make an inexpensive mistake.
That's a great way to say it.
You're going to make mistakes as you go through this, and I want you to make a $2,000 mistake, not a $20,000 mistake. That hurts my heart when somebody spends that money on something they don't absolutely love.
Yeah, and this watch looks expensive to me.
It
and
does.
A lot of their watches do. Longines to me is it presents as a very high-end brand.
Yeah. Well, and I think they're really, really comfortable with their DNA. They've been doing it for a long time. Actually, their trademark, I don't know if this is going to pick up on camera. You have this, it's actually an hourglass. The flying hourglass is one of the world's oldest registered trademarks, at least in the watch industry for sure.
Okay.
But moving forward, a brand not on a lot of people's radar, but it should be, is going to be Oris. So this is an Oris, it's a pilot's watch. You actually have an E6B slide rule as well as a chronograph. It's actually, believe it or not, the same movement in these two watches. So you can do a really high-end, a really nice movement. You can do it sporty, you can do it dressy. I think that's always kind of fun.
That's really interesting. This to me is your sports watch, your weekend watch, like your play.
Absolutely. Stainless steel case, you have a DLC coating. Exhibition back, which is always nice as well. You have some military conversions, things of that nature. Kind of fascinating. Oris has never made a quartz watch. Talking about your watch, it's one of their advertising claims is, we don't do quartz. But Oris is one of those relatively inexpensive watches. Again, this one's about $2,200 pre-owned. I think brand new, it's $32, $35, something in there, where you can get an awful lot of watch on your wrist, and other guys who collect watches will notice that and go, nice watch. It's a good piece.
Yeah.
On to the venerable Tag Heuer.
This is one of your personal favorites.
Yeah, I've always liked Heuer. I like vintage Heuer. I like modern Tag Heuer. This one's a little bit of both. This is a modern Tag Heuer, but it's a throwback to a vintage Heuer. It's a Carrera, simple three-hander date. Not much going on there. It is Tag Heuer's Caliber 5, which again is an ETA-based movement, but just a wonderful bang for the buck kind of presence. This one here, pre-owned, you're right at that $2,800 price point.
It's classy looking.
It's classy looking, yeah. And this a lot of these watches, even if you're not initiated, you can see the quality from across the room. You kind of go, hey, I know that's a nice watch, even if you know nothing about watches.
That's exactly what I would think with this if I saw someone wearing it.
Now, hopping the pond and maybe getting a little more expensive depending on which way you want to go. You have a Grand Seiko. This is the Grand Seiko GMT. And calling a Grand Seiko a starter watch, it's going to trigger a lot of people, and I'm going to apologize for that right now because in a lot of ways it's not, but it is something that may launch you into more expensive watches down the line, or you might end here. This could be an end watch as well. But price point wise, I think at least in the secondary market they still kind of fit in there. Getting a little more expensive. I'm at $3,800 on this one pre-owned. But the finish levels on these are absolutely incredible. This is the height of Japanese watchmaking. If you haven't looked at a Grand Seiko, do yourself a favor and look at Grand Seiko.
These watches are getting a lot of attention online. I always see Grand Seikos. And is that new releases we're seeing or just a pickup of the brand?
A little bit of both. Okay. It's definitely a brand that has become the darling of the online set. For sure. I swear I think Hodinkee has a stake in Seiko. But it's when you put out product of this quality, people are going to respond to it. And I think that's really what you're seeing. It's a finish level. This is one of those really simple watches where you can just look at it forever and see new things every time you look at it. They don't do as strongly in the secondary market as we would like, but frankly, they don't show up in the secondary market very often. The guys who own these keep them. So if you're looking to trade in your Grand Seiko, please come see me.
It's a good one to look for. And then one has a pretty vintage look to it as well.
Yeah, it's that creamy dial. Yeah. It's definitely more of a vintage look. And then again, maybe shouldn't be in this category, but if you're angling that way, the best way to enter the in-house manufactured German market by far is going to be Nomos. There's a few other, so this is made in Glashütte, Germany, which is right across the street from Mille Glashütte, Glashütte original, and then right next to that, you're looking at a Lange Sohne.
Right.
These are all made in a snowball's throw from one another, and this is just an exercise in restraint. This is one of those watches where everything is so perfectly proportioned that if one of these indices was a little bit longer, it wouldn't be right. It is so German on so many levels. This movement is spectacular. This has their Neomatic movement, which is their first in-house manufactured escapement as well. So this one here, I've got it. It's under $3,000 pre-owned, where this watch would normally be close to $6,000 new.
This is where if you appreciate design, like you were touching on the symmetry.
Absolutely.
I mean, the dial, to have a dial that simple takes a lot of attention to detail, and you really got to get it right.
People don't realize, like when it came to my Breitling, I used to joke there could be a spelling error on my Breitling and I wouldn't know. It was big, bold, and busy, and this is the exact opposite of that, and you end up getting such an appreciation for proportion and style.
I would agree. Well, awesome. I think all of these give us a kind of a good representation and idea of what to look for when starting a watch. Hopefully this gives you at home a better understanding of what to look for as well. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. We've got some great videos coming up.
And keep in mind as well, if this is what you're into, take a look at the channel. There's a lot of great content on there. We talk about vintage chronographs and all sorts of neat stuff. So hopefully you'll be entertained by that.
Thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.